You guys are starting early, so I guess I have a lot of extra time. Well, good morning. Thank you for the invitation. My name again is Jeff Rogers. I'm with the Virginia Department of Agriculture. I'm actually filling in for Kevin Neal from the Office of the Indiana State Chemist. Anybody know Kevin? Because if you do, you need to lower your expectations a little bit. I'm going to talk to you a little bit. I'm not a waste expert. You've got plenty of those on your agenda, and I'm glad to speak ahead of them. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about state lead agencies, mostly in the departments of agriculture across the nation. Many of us have pesticide disposal programs. So I'm going to talk a little bit specifically about what we do in Virginia, because I'm intimately familiar with that. But I'll also try to give you a little perspective about how it's done differently in other states, and then I'll wrap up at the end with providing you a little information on where you could go to get the specifics if you have needs in your particular state. So with that, it says win-win program. I mean, it's great for the agency. I don't always feel like a winner at the end of it, but it is a good program for our agency, for our stakeholders, for our growers and our dealers who work with pesticides in the Commonwealth. It's an environmental stewardship program. I'll tell you a little bit about how we fund it. That's probably the single biggest limiting factor in all state government across the nation, especially with these programs, is funding. Funding dictates everything. The provisions of our program, and then maybe a little bit about some of the other programs in other states that I know. And then, as was stated before, we'll talk a little bit about the Pesticide Stewardship Alliance and the resources they have and the benefits to that program. So our disposal program was set up initially to assist agricultural producers and pesticide dealers with a problem of unwanted pesticide material. We didn't want it left out there. Not everyone has the means to dispose of it properly, so they can do one of two things. They can hang on to it, or they can dispose of it improperly. We frown on the improper. And so we have this program to give them options to proceed. And since its inception, it's been opened up to more than just licensed pesticide businesses, but also certified applicators, not for hire, golf courses, and we even take we do take homeowner waste. We don't get a lot of participation from homeowners, but we will accept any pesticide material. And there's no cost to participants, and then it's kind of a quasi-amnesty program, and I'll touch on that here in a second. How we pay for it, Virginia, we're fortunate or unfortunate depending on which particular year we're in, but we're a non-general fund program. We don't take any money from the General Assembly. The money that we operate on, or the money that we collect, is from pesticide product registration fees. In order to sell a product in Virginia, it has to be registered there, and there's a fee associated with that. And to be a licensed pesticide business, there's a fee associated with that, as with commercial applicators. There's a fee. So all of those fees come into our program. That's what we use to operate, and some of those dollars are put toward the disposal program. I have lots of pictures, not a lot of words. I'm really good with pictures. These are some of the sites that we come across. Hopefully we don't have as many of these as we've had in the past. Each year there still seems to be one or two, but they're getting to be fewer and fewer. And again, this isn't, I guess, for these stakeholders per se. These are more agricultural producers. Not good. This was a retailer here. We had a tractor trailer load of material that was packaged nicely, all palletized, forklift in the room. And then apparently they locked the door 26, 27 years later. They call us and said, hey, we need some help. Roof collapsed, rain, snow, wildlife. For a short period of time, the wildlife lived there. Not long after they moved in. And then this is what we have. So our program serves to help clean up some of this material throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. Again, better storage facilities. This one here was great. The gentleman said, you guys left a drum when you were here a year ago. I'm like, wasn't here a year ago. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure you were. Well, this is 1992. I'm like, just at high school, sir. That was not me. Our disposal program is set up. We used to, when we first started, we did what was called the milk run. You went farm to farm, dealer to dealer, site to site. Wherever there was waste, we would go to. And some states still do that. We're hoping not to have as much material. We're hoping to see these numbers continue to go down over the years, but we have now collection sites. So we service Virginia. We break the state into 5 service areas, and we work a program each year, but only in one service area. You're welcome to bring your material to the collection site in that area, but we won't go outside unless it's an emergency. And so we'll set up, and we have a contractor. We don't use VDAC staff for this. I'm usually on site, one of our investigators, but just to help facilitate or communicate. But we have a contractor that will set up. People bring their unwanted material to us. They actually unload the truck, pack it, and take it away from there. If we do have a situation where a user can't safely bring the material to us, we will actually do an on-site visit, but we try to keep those to a minimum. Some other states have programs similar to this. Some actually collect product throughout the whole year, and then their contractors will just come, to certain sites at certain times and just gather material. They're not waiting for customers to bring it. Some states will cover their entire state every year. Some states do it as needed. If they get the call and say have some material, they'll go out and collect it, but they don't have a set schedule. Each is a little bit different, and again, it's largely driven on funding. And this is just a little schematic here. The contractor sets up, the people bring the material to us, they unload it, pack it, and then ultimately dispose of it. And again, Virginia's broken up, and this is how we are. We are on a hiatus in calendar year 2017, and that is based on our budget. As I said with other states, this comes last. Got to make payroll, have to meet the core responsibilities of your program or your agency's needs, and then the monies that are left over, if you have dedicated funds, can be used for container recycling or for waste disposal. And so we're going to begin again in 2018 in kind of the south side of Virginia. Do you have any questions as I go through this? Feel free to ask them. I mean, some participants in Virginia, we do have dealers, we have agriculture producers, golf courses. We don't limit. If it's a pesticide, we accept it. And then these are just some of our totals, which is acceptable. Again, agricultural, commercial, homeowner, if it's a pesticide, if it has an EPA registration number, although if it's older than EPA, and we do see some of that, if it has an FDA number or if it has pesticidal properties, we'll accept it into our program at no cost. Even to include rinsates and use dilutions. We don't want to see a grower stuck with a drum, an IBC, a tank, load of product that he couldn't apply and now he's stuck with. So we do accept those. We do try to limit that. This is a lot of weight. We pay by the pound, and this can consume a lot. We don't want to encourage bad business practices. If you call me and say, I have 30,000 gallons of rinseate, can you dispose of it? I'm probably going to say I can't. How did you get 30,000 gallons? Have you been managing it? Have you been using it as carriers, appropriate it back into loads, as opposed to just put it in tanks and stacking it in your parking lot? We don't like to see that. That's not a good practice. But if you have something, small amount, situation, hey, I mixed this, it's only registered for cotton, I couldn't grow cotton, now what am I going to do with it? We'll help you dispose of it properly. Because as some of the other pictures that you've seen before, when people see the cost associated with disposal, oftentimes they'll wait. And the longer they wait, the worse it gets, especially if it's stored outside or if the barn's falling down or if there's a hole in the roof. Many times we'll get the call, Dad died, and we're trying to clean up the farm, and we've got a little bit from the past 50 years in the barn, and we need that to go away.
Sure.
Yes.
I got a question.
Certainly.
If that's the case, and you've got a product that needs to be disposed of fairly soon, but you're on hiatus for the rest of 17 and all of 18, what do you do?
Bury it. Just big hole dump it. No, I'm just kidding. No, and in those situations,
Throw the river?
we have lots of big lakes. You're gonna have to edit that from the tape. No, we do, and I get a lot of those calls, and of course, as soon as people hear, well, what am I gonna do? We still have our contractor on contract, for lack of a better term. They're just continuing until we go back into production. And they still do provide me overpack containers. So if it's a situation, I get these calls every week. I have a couple of drums now, where I have these containers. I can store them until you come back, but they can't stay in the condition they're in. We'll provide overpack containers so they can store them safely. If it's a situation where we can't, where they don't want to wait, then we refer them to a list of licensed, I don't have a list of companies. We refer them to companies. We can give examples of those that we've used in the past, but you might want to talk to a Clean Harbors or to a Heritage Environmental to respond to that specific need. If it's a homeowner, sometimes we have household hazardous waste programs in localities, but they're locality driven. If they have the funding, you can take your material there. A lot of times they don't want, they'll take your spent motor oil, your paint, but they don't want the pesticides, but some still do. And so I send homeowners in that direction to their solid waste authorities. And then the commercial entities or the growers who have larger quantities, then we will refer specifically to a waste contractor. And then if we can assist them in some way so that they can postpone their disposal until we can help, then we will certainly do that as well. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. Yes, sir.
You have folks transport materials centralized for collection sites.
Correct.
How does somebody do that and get around or work within the framework of the hazardous material transportation?
That's a really good question. And I should have prefaced this with, please don't ask me any questions I don't know the answer to. No, the way our program is set up, we don't, and I don't know if this is skirting, if this was above my pay grade, but the way our program is set up is we don't consider it waste until you bring it to us. Because we have some people that, I've had people show up with a pallet of material, it's still shrink wrapped. It's like you unloaded the truck and put it on this truck and drove it to me, and now you want it to go away. There has value there, I'm surprised, but they do. Until you bring it to me, we don't consider it waste. We have a pesticide collection program. So at the point halfway there, you go, you know what, I'm going to grow that next year, I want to take it back, you can. It's not waste. Yes, sir.
So you're saying you'll accept it at the collection on a bill of lading?
I'm sorry?
You'll say you will accept it at the collection location on a bill of lading. You don't have to have a manifest to accept it.
Correct. Correct. Yes, sir.
I was just asking because you may not consider the waste until you accept it as such. But when it's transported on the highway, it may have a hazard class associated with it.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And shipping papers, placarding, marking, that whole body of regulation could come into play.
I understand what you're saying, and I have had companies, not agricultural producers per se, but people who bring me that material, they do come that way. I have a manufacturer or a registrant in Virginia that had some material that they didn't want to put into the market and they wanted to dispose of, and they participated in our program. And that responsibility falls on them, and of course they meet the burden because that's what they do, and that's how they showed up. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's the situation we've dealt with there.
I've been part of a, oh, no, I'm on a microphone, gee, Christmas. Thanks. That's just been an issue in the past, dealing with stuff like this.
Certainly. That's something that we may need to revisit. Any other questions about that? Okay. You see the materials that we don't include. Some people will show up with these. We have to send them back home. Since our program is funded solely with dollars from registrants and applicators in this pesticide program, this money is only used to solve this pesticide problem. Fertilizers, tires, paints, things like that, people would like to bring them to us. We can't collect. Some states do. Some states have agreements with their contractor that while you can bring this to them, and we have in the past, we don't currently do this now, if it's a material that doesn't fall into our program, you could bring it with your pesticide materials, but then you deal specifically with the contractor on any other material there. If it's something that they're willing to take, then you can broker that. And in the past, you've gotten the same disposal rate or the amount that we pay as a part of our contract, but different companies handle that different ways. And some states will have limits. The first 250 pounds, we'll take at no cost. Anything over that, you pay the contractor directly for, which is still a good service. And I've had some people call me and say, how much to, I'd like to bring it to your program. I'm not going to be there till next year. Well, forget it. I'm just going to deal with somebody else. And then they call and they get a price and they're like, you know what? Maybe I'll come see you at the zero charge as opposed to what it would cost for them to come to my facility. Unknown products, we sample anything greater than 50 pounds or 50 gallons. And so we need to know about those ahead of time if someone has material. We do have investigators that go out and collect those samples. We do like to have an idea if you're going to bring us an excessive amount of material so that we're set up. So while this says registration, it's not really a registration. You don't have to give me all of your specific information, but we do need to be prepared. If we're expecting 1,000 pounds of material, we might have one truck and one guy. If 10,000 pounds shows up, that becomes a problem. In the past, we've had contractors that have been out of state, and so when they came in, they brought all of their people and everything that they needed for the week, and on day 3, they're full, and that becomes a logistical nightmare because you have 2 more sites to go to. And so we really do ask for feedback to our participants. We do a lot of advertising. We work closely with Extension to our growers. This is not a day of kind of thing. If you want to participate, let us know, be prepared. It never fails. As soon as we leave an area, I get 4 phone calls. Hey, when are you coming back? In 5 years, if there's money. So maybe never. I don't know. I encourage people to participate. I've had some retailers say, well, it doesn't suit to come out on that day. We'll just wait till the next time you come around. Well, we may not come around, or you may need to do something prior to then. So we do encourage, and this is more for the agricultural producers, we do encourage, if it's in the area, if it's available to you in whatever state that you're in, if you have that need, participate. It doesn't get any better than these programs as far as your bottom line. If you have to do something out of the program or after the fact, it can certainly be cost prohibitive. And there's no guarantees that these programs stay around. Some states have very robust programs, and in 1 year, and Virginia's one, they're just not doing it this year, the end. Maybe next year, we'll see, kind of thing. So we work closely with our Virginia Cooperative Extension, of course, our Division of Consolidated Labs, and then we have a great contractor that's very proactive and works very well with us, and then participation. Sometimes we'll have events that nobody shows up to, which is fine as far as my budget is concerned. The contractor's not always as happy when material doesn't come out, but it's very frustrating when, a month later someone says, hey, I found, 7 pallets of DDT because we grew azaleas 60 years ago and now we're selling the property. And you get some really interesting calls in this line of work. So from that's Virginia. I can tell you a little bit about some of the states that I know. You're probably not all from Virginia. I would encourage you to come to Virginia if you could. I'm super pro Virginia. But if you can't and you don't want to, we do have the Pesticide Stewardship Alliance, and we're active in this organization as many of my counterparts across the state. And this is a really good association as far as for those of you who may not be familiar with it. But it is a good partnership with pesticide management, academia, industry, and regulatory. So there are people like me there. I mean, I like to say it's association of the greatest minds, but they let me in. So it's some really smart people and then some of us. But it's a great venue for me. I mean, we do business differently in Virginia because of the contacts and the sessions and the meetings that we've gone to, because you can always learn a little better way. I know Derek Bell in North Carolina, his program is completely different, but I can take a little bit from what he does because he's improved his process. Kevin Neal from Indiana, I can call him up and ask him how he handles a particular situation. I know Fred Gabriel, back when he was with Clean Harbors, we had a mini bulk issue in Virginia. We wanted to work that into our contract. So at one meeting I asked him, what would be a fair representation from a contractor's perspective? And he just gave me his ideas, and later, we worked part of that into our contractor so that we could address these needs. This is really good because you can get the industry perspective, you can get the extension or the pesticide safety educator's perspective. EPA, Nancy Fitz, who's on the agenda, she's there, she's a great resource. You can get EPA's perspective. It's kind of a one-stop shop. End users, applicators, it's a great organization. I would encourage you to participate. I don't know if any of you are familiar with dicamba. Yeah, that's consumed a lot of my time. We've got a great track on that in the upcoming meeting. So the group is really good about addressing current needs and issues, and I get a lot of value from that. But specifically, oh yeah, this is the thing that I was just going to say. You can read that later. Specifically, the group dealing with disposal, if I could get you to pull that map up right now. The Pesticide Stewardship Alliance put together a disposal database, and so it's a great big map of everything. And behind each state is a link to that state's program. So if you have need of some services that we provide in Virginia, but you're not in Virginia and you want to know if that service is available to you in your state, you can go to the map, click on your state, and get all the program-specific information, point of contact, phone number, email, what materials they accept, how often they have the program, how it's funded. Again, funding drives these programs. I may have made this more difficult than I should have. But you can see, and then from there you've got all the information that you need to proceed or pursue any of these services for your dealership or your warehouse, or if you have a customer who calls you and says, hey, I bought this from you 10 years ago and I don't want it, you probably won't take it back. What are my options?
I'm really close to having it.
That's me. That's awesome. I got all day. I don't have to be on a plane until like 6. So, yeah, perfect. There it is. There's the state. Yeah. If you clicked on Virginia, you'd see me. Indiana, you'd see Kevin. Washington State, you'd see Joe Hoffman. And again, it's all of these programs are very different. Central drop-off collection style. And this is Indiana. Yeah. Very similar to ours. They allow farmers to participate in dealers and pest control operators and golf courses. Some states are just growers. We only service farmers. Some say farmers and dealers. And then some say pretty much anyone who has a pesticide that they want to dispose of. So that's good. And if you're in Indiana and you needed assistance, you could email Kevin or give him a call, and he'd be able to provide you all the specifics. So the map is full of contacts like that. Joe Hoffman in Washington said, yeah, Virginia, don't go to Virginia for waste. But any of these will give you the specifics of what they have. Who's that, California? Okay. Collection type, not applicable. All right. Frequency, not applicable. All right. Disposal program, no. Don't throw things away in California, apparently. Again, Washington, theirs is dramatically different than ours. Joe Hoffman's a waste manager. I mean, he's intimately familiar with the regulations. He could probably better answer your question there. And they visit. They'll go farm to farm. I mean, you can call him up and say, I have a product or a problem. Can you come help me? And he'll come out and take a look at it. So, wherever you are, this is a great utility, a great resource, another benefit. Mini bulk recycling, that's becoming an issue we're finding at our disposal programs. Hey, I got this mini bulk I don't want to get rid of, so I got a gallon of product that I need you to dispose of, but here it is in this big 275-gallon tank. Yay. That's expensive. I don't want the tank. I just need the product out of the middle. So there's resources on, rinsing and cleaning mini bulks and how you can recycle those, and the companies out there, the member companies out there that can help you resolve those issues. Website's full of great information like that. So if you're not a member, I'd encourage you to be. If you're interested, we've got a meeting coming up in Tennessee where we're going to talk largely about mini bulk disposal and recycling and what to do with the product inside and what to do with the container when you're finished. On one track, another track will be a lot about, dicamba or the new C&T rule that EPA has. So great website. Please visit it if you haven't and see what's out there, see if there's a use to you. Any questions about the Pesticide Stewardship Alliance or Virginia? Colorado? Yes, sir.
So, does Virginia do, so you have one or a select group, so you have one or maybe a couple of primary vendors you use for disposal?
Yes.
Does Virginia take the initiative to vet those contractors and disposal facilities to make sure that you all have a level of comfort with how that's being managed, just so that something doesn't come back to whoever may have generated that product in the first place from a disposal standpoint?
Next question, please. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And some of this came from attending these annual meetings, because I don't want to say we've had a problem, but some of the states that I'm familiar with have. They went, and I don't want to bore you with these details, they went best low bid will buy, which what we do in government. How cheap can I get the basic need? And we've been able to, because of this, we've been able to change our procurement process to get away from that low bid. But this is what we want to accomplish. Tell me how your company can do it at your cost. And so we can evaluate you on the service and not just who's the cheapest per pound. because that's what you get with the cheapest per pound. Well, I'm going to do part of it, then I'm going to send it to this guy, and he's going to do part. And where is it now? I've lost it. I don't know. It's in a warehouse leaking. Okay, great. And my name's on it. So, but we do. And I appreciate that question because that has been a problem. And we like to think that we've addressed it effectively with this procurement process, references, experience with our specific industry doing these specific types of collections. And we evaluate our companies based on that. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Any other guy? Yes.
So I have an interactive question. Who has heard of the Pesticide Stewardship Alliance before? Who knows who is a member from their company? I can't raise my hand because I don't. Who knows if that's the right person? Because I guess, how do you, maybe you don't know, but how does TIPSA make sure that they're getting the right person from, let's say, Dow AgroSciences as a member that's actually making decisions on waste disposal and stewarding pesticides?
We ask them, are you the right person? And they go, yes. And we go, done, you're in.
Done, you're
No,
in.
no, I don't know that we do have any kind of vetting membership process. I mean, if you want to be a member, you can be. It's, I don't know, Bonnie, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like $75 to be a member. We do have a lot of environmental people, at least the ones that I'm familiar with. This is what they deal with. And it's great for me as a state being a member. So when I come up across, like I can't take cylinders. You know, Dow sometimes has product in cylinders, and I have called Dow and said, I can't put these in my program. They're abandoned in this storage facility surrounded by these rental homes. You know, it's a particular product that we don't want to leak out, and I don't know that the kids can get in there. And the Dow rep's like, no problem. You know, I can help you get those cylinders out of that environment. And so we work with them. We get them. They work with us to see that the cylinders are disposed of properly. But so for me, the people that I have reached have been able to get results. I assume they're the right people, but we don't have any kind of
I think that's fair. And the only reason I
requirement.
ask is because one thing you mentioned is actually a scenario that I'm dealing with right now in a warehouse, right? So we had a leak and we're trying to dispose of the rinsate, but trying to figure out how to do that when the warehouse doesn't have an EPA generator ID, and we aren't sure really the percentage of the rinsate. So is it even still considered hazmat or not? And truthfully, if the guy that is trying to figure this out was maybe a member of Pesticide Stewardship Alliance, I feel like he would be a lot better suited for answering some of those questions.
Absolutely. We've had sessions on rinsate management because when we poll my counterparts across the states, like, what's your biggest problem with disposal? And it's like, people want to bring me, gallons and gallons and gallons of rinsate, and it's not necessary. They know what it was, they know what it is, they know where it can go. Can it be used as a carrier? Probably. You just got to manage it. And so we've had sessions from our end user members who've spoken and said, this is what we do, in our company to keep that from becoming a disposal issue or a liability when you've got 30 IBCs in your parking lot full of materials that you've lost track of. And we've had those scenarios or those situations. So yes, I think there would certainly be someone there that could assist them, provide information or a session that would address that. But good question, thank you. I want to be respectful of your time, so I don't, yes, sir.
Just a second, yeah. We need to use the microphone so we can catch it on tape.
We've had several instances where a farmer passes away and leaves the farm to somebody else, and they're not going to farm anymore, and they go in the barn and they find a bunch of old product,
Right.
and it's got poison labels all over it. Obviously, we don't want them to handle it. They call Bayer or whomever, Dow, whoever the product is. So is TIPSA our first contact point, or should we go to the particular state like Georgia or Virginia to start that conversation? I mean, what we've done in the past is we will actually get the generator ID number for that particular state, for that particular site,
Wow.
send Clean Harbors or Veolia, whoever in and take care of it. But that's obviously a very costly thing. We don't want the farmer or the inheritor to take care of it on their own. They're not trained to do that. So is TIPSA the first point of contact to find this out on how to handle that?
Yeah. Personally, I need to get your number because that's great that you do that. So I could send some people your way, but no, this would be.
Thank you.
Would be
Appreciate that.
a Because I get those same calls too, like, hey, I just bought this farm and in the barn there's all this stuff. I'm like, you didn't look in the barn before you bought it? I'm like, nope, just bought it. I'm like, well, you just inherited someone else's disposal nightmare. Or, hey, this company donated this stuff to me. I'm like, they didn't donate it to you. They just gave you their waste problem. What do I do? And so, yeah, this would be a great resource, even if you look down at the membership to see, like if you needed a point of contact at a particular registrant, you might say, well, I don't know who to call first, but let me look to see who's a member of this organization because they work in that field. Or you could go to this map and you could call Georgia and say, is this a service you provide? Do you have a program? Can you help them, agricultural producer, or maybe they're not anymore,
Yeah,
but it's
'cause-
agricultural product? They might say, yeah, we're going to be in that area, or next year we can dispose of it at no cost, and then that would resolve.
So as soon as you know it's a RIC or waste, you've got to get the generator ID, and there's a lot of administrative and reporting that goes along with that, and then close the site. So it is it's actually a pretty significant burden, but our product stewardship values tell us this is what we need to do.
Need to do, sure.
Yeah, but it's also, if there's a better way or organizations like this that can help, I think that's much better to do.
And that's the beauty of this organization. You have those companies, those waste disposal companies are members. You have the registrants are members. You have the state lead agencies are members. And so it's kind of a one-stop shop where you could get points of contact for all three, and you could start that process then.
Thank you.
Thank you.